The Cabal of Tsakata, Episode 8. Decembrine 18th, 513. We are finally back in Bubesh, and as it is close to the winter solstice, Dr. Reaver has given us a bonus. I'm happy to be back in a more civilized place, at least for a while. They don't celebrate the winter solstice in Naquer, so I get to introduce Samira to the celebration. Dr. Reaver will oversee the acquisition, along with Samira, and Samira is allowing me to help. We got back into Bubesh mid-morning, and so Samira put me to work until after sunset. Once we were finished, she kissed me and told me I could stay with her at her house. I took her up on her offer. Decembrine 21st, 513. Happy winter solstice! I cooked Samira a special meal, and then we exchanged gifts. I gave her a beautiful opal pendant. She gave me a dozen new art pads, new art supplies, and night to remember. I love her. Decembrine 29th, 513. Rather than put out the statue of Tagoon pleasuring Tsakata, it will be kept within the museum basement vault to be protected. A lot of the artifacts have been successfully secured, and they will be addressed after the new year. As there are only 3 days left in 513, I intend on spending it with Samira. Decembrine 31st, 513. Today is the last day of the year. I am most delighted by this whole experience. When I first came to Naquer, I was quite nervous and apprehensive about the country as a whole. While I was excited about the prospect of seeing a new place and going on my first archaeological expedition, I was still unsure of how this experience would change me. Well, it has. I helped in the discovery of 2 lost temples. I helped in reintroducing ancient art back to its people, and I found love in a wonderful person. I can't wait to see what 514 brings. Januarino 5th, 514. I waited quite a while to write again, as I was enjoying the downtime. Yesterday I got to help Samira with documenting all of the artifacts and figuring out where to put them. Director El Assad had the great idea to house a lot of the new Tsakata artifacts and the statue in the recently finished second basement floor, which is beneath the first floor. I feel this is a great idea, and I'll be helping to move all of the artifacts from the first temple down there as well. This will allow those who disagree with the Cabal of Tsakata to avoid seeing their artifacts. We will be announcing a new exhibit soon. I was conflicted about the new statue, and I asked Director El Assad about it potentially causing religious backlash. His response surprised me. He said to me that the statue was an artifact from their past, and even if it was controversial, it deserves to be displayed. Still, I can't help but wonder how the faithful Tagoonites will react to seeing their god prostrated before Tsakata, overcome with desire. Director El Assad has hired more security for the museum, especially the wing where the Tsakata artifacts are going to be locked behind a set of steel doors. Dr. Reaver is with Obasi and Carol, and they're venturing to the capital to negotiate excavation of the last temple. They would have taken me, but I'm helping Samira set up the new exhibit. My time with her isn't all sex and fun, although there is a lot of sex. I'm being trusted with a lot of responsibility with helping with the exhibit. I've been offered a job after I graduate, and it is very tempting for sure. The museum is planning the exhibit for Februarino 9th, 514. I've written letters back home and told my family about Samira. I can't wait to introduce her to them. I hope I can one day. Januarino 20th, 514. Dr. Reaver and the others are still in the capital. I'm fairly certain we will be able to get the permission to go to Yetref. After all, as far as I know, Dr. Reaver is the leading authority on Tsakata. I'm surprised there aren't many Naquerians who study the Cabal's history. It might be because of the conservative nature of the Order of Tagoon. According to Samira, the current government for Naquer has only been around for 40 years, and so the more liberal approach with regard to the ancient Saushi Adamite history is being opposed by the greater Tagunite communities. On another note, I was introduced to Samira's parents. Her father is named Isad, and her mother's name is Atima. Samira also has a little brother named Jaruk. Her family is very kind and supportive, and they reacted quite warmly when Samira told them that I knew. Isad hugged me and thanked me for accepting and loving his beloved daughter, and Atima kissed me on the cheek. I can't wait to introduce Samira to my family one day. Februarino 1st, 514. Dr. Reaver, Obasi, and Carol finally came back, and they told us we have permission to head to Yetrif. We will be leaving in a week or so, after the second exhibit. Samira and I showed the three of them the exhibit, and Carol complimented the hard work I did. Samira reinforced that I was a tremendous help as well. These days are getting better and better. Februarino 9th, 514. Today was the exhibit, and it was eventful. Just like the first one, we dressed up and positioned ourselves around the room to answer questions. People came around and they marveled at the art and the found weapons and the religious artifacts. They were taken aback and disturbed by seeing ancient Saushi Adamite soldiers engaged in combat with a group of masked people. Obasi and Carol explained to them that they were reminiscent of ancient times rather than today. Their mood drastically fell into more offensive expressions when they got to the statue. Most of the Naquerians are devoted Tagunites, although many are more open-minded than their conservative parents and grandparents. However, to see their god in such a compromising position, it was often too much. I was actually surprised to see how many young people turned away from the statue and gave the sign of Tagun. A man actually rushed the statue and tried to topple it over, but Hamal and the other guards suppressed him and threw him out. The evening ended with a bitter sensation flaring throughout us. The people of Bubesh did not receive the statue well at all. I hope the museum will be safe. Februarino 14th, 514. Tragedy has struck us so hard. I'm still reeling from what happened. I was at Samira's house when armed thugs broke into her home, wielding swords. There were 4 of them, and they were intent on killing us. I did my best to protect Samira, but to my surprise, she ended up protecting me. We knocked over the table and kept them back, but Samira drew a kitchen knife. With expert precision, she threw it and killed one of the attackers. The blade plunged into one of the man's eyes. The other 3 stopped, which was a major mistake. Samira drew another knife. One of them advanced on me and swung his sword, but I stepped back. I remember I was so scared, but I knew I had to do something. I slammed into him with my shoulder. He swung again and I ducked. One of the men screamed out, and I surged forward to knock the man's legs out from underneath him. He was on the ground, and so I looked back at Samira. She had slain another of the attackers, and now she held one of their swords. Her blade collided with the last attacker's weapons. I kicked the attacker I tangled with in the face, and he fell back. He swung his own sword from the ground, but I wasn't about to approach him. Samira killed the man who faced her, then savagely sliced the man I fought from behind. When we were all alone, she asked me if I was okay. I said I was, and I asked her the same. I also asked her if she used to be military or something. Samira smiled at me and said in Naquer, everyone learns to defend themselves, because it can be a very dangerous place. To be honest, I suspect there are secrets Samira holds back, but I won't press it. I respect her, love her, and trust that she will tell me things when she feels comfortable enough to reveal them. She and I left her home after securing it the best we could. We ran to tell Dr. Reaver what happened. Unfortunately, we were not the only ones who were attacked. Dr. Reaver was fine, and she dispatched the assassins who came for her. She is much more feisty and gruff than I expected. Then again, she has been through multiple marauder attacks. These people were the same group of marauders who attacked the expedition before. Obasi and Carol were attacked too. Obasi was gravely wounded, but he's still alive. Carol was beheaded. The museum was the last target, but the extra security that Director El Assad hired held the assailants off. The director was actually at the museum and helped to defend it. We are still reeling from this tragedy. Samira and I are staying with her parents, and Obasi is in the hospital. I hope he survives the night. Februarino 16th, 514. The good news is that Obasi survived, but the bad news is that he no longer wishes to continue with us, or to venture to Yetref. He explained that he lost his two best friends to this experience, and he's heartbroken. Dr. Reaver was saddened by that, but she understood. We are planning to leave Bubesh on the 20th. We are getting 30% more security, and until we depart, we will be in secret locations. I grieve for Carol, but I can understand why we were attacked. Don't get me wrong, it was a terrible and cowardly strike, but I can understand why some people are so angry. From their perspective, their religion, and their faith are being slandered. Samira is going with us, and she seems more than excited to go to Yetref. I'm also very excited. But this is much more dangerous than I thought it would be. If this is the last temple to find, what will I do after? I suppose I would return to Ocean Dare to complete my PhD. That is, if I survive. I don't want to think about having to leave Samira behind. I wonder if she would come to stay with me in Ocean Dare for a while. I would like that very much. As mentioned, we are leaving for Yetref on the 20th. May Tsakata protect us all.